Our next panel celebrates the next generation of leadership with the RGA Leaders of Tomorrow program, which this year celebrates 10 years. We recognized these rising stars at our awards program last night, and now you will hear from these inspiring next generation leaders. Please join me in welcoming Sinan O'Loughlin and the RGA Leaders of Tomorrow panel. And before I hand over to Sinan, please turn your attention to the screen for a message from RGA's CEO, Tony Chen.
Maintaining a vibrant insurance industry means investing in its people. And at RGA, we are investing in the next generation of insurance decision makers. The RGA Leaders of Tomorrow program supports the industry's top talent through mentorship and executive engagement.
The RGA Leaders of Tomorrow program is so important because it connects people from diverse backgrounds, and as a result of all of this, supports the innovation in the global insurance industry.
The program is designed to help rising stars reach the next level and constantly evolves to meet industry demands. Participants work with senior executive mentors to examine strategic issues, explore opportunities for deeper engagement across core business functions, and expand global peer connections.
If you get the opportunity to be a mentee in this program, I encourage you to grab it with both hands. You get the opportunity to spend some serious quality time with seasoned mentors. To the potential mentors out there, thank you for even considering doing this. I can't emphasize enough how important it is that you share your time with these mentees, your wisdom, your knowledge, your friendship, to give them the confidence as well as the capabilities to move to the next level of leadership.
As we mark the 10th anniversary of the RGA Leaders of Tomorrow program, we celebrate a decade of empowering outstanding industry talent and shaping future leaders. We look forward to continuing this journey of excellence and innovation in the years to come.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and it's a pleasure for me to be here and to welcome you all to this panel for the RGA Leaders of Tomorrow discussion, because I'm just thrilled to be joined by three wonderful ladies like these. So I'm Sinan O'Loughlin, and I'm the Executive Vice President and Head of Individual Life for RGA in the US. And we've been very proud to sponsor the Leaders of Tomorrow. As you heard from Tony there, he's a former mentee. I think he says he couldn't have done it without this program. But he does talk about how it was very important to him and the whole idea of mentorship, sharing knowledge, and that cross-exchange of ideas on a global basis. We're very proud that this year we celebrate 10 years of the program, and that wouldn't have been possible without the partnership with the IIS. So our thanks to them, to Josh and the IIS team for that. So this year we had 10 mentees. Hopefully you have seen the page in the bag that's on there, it's out at the table outside. A truly exceptional group that were from the industry, from life and health, property and casualty from around the world. That we're delighted to have them. And our thanks equally on the flip side to the 10 mentors who sort of stepped in and worked with them to get all that up and running. So as part of this journey, it isn't just nice conversations. We did ask the mentees, they are asked to do some research and prepare a paper on a topic that captures their imagination, that energizes them in it. And then they take that paper and they have to present it back to the assembled collection of mentors, IIS leadership, RGA executive, me. And then they're judged on that process. And it was a tremendous, I would say, I think a half day as we heard back from the various mentees and we got to sort of hear what they had to say. It was a really energizing moment for all of us to kind of hear and see the fruits of that research. But we do have a winner when we do all that, and that's why I'm sort of joined here. And the winner this year was Beth beside me. Beth Carter from Protective was our 2024 winner. And then our two honorable mentions then were, we got a Hwanghwa Kim from RGA in Korea, and then we have Annie Nyat An Tran from MSIG based in Singapore. So this is our group here. So first, I get a round of applause for the three. So first, I'm going to sort of work my way down and let them introduce themselves more thoroughly. So Beth, can I hand over to you to let me know who you are and what your paper was about? Some of them might not have read all the papers.
Absolutely, thank you. So I'm Beth Carter. I currently lead at Protective Life Insurance. So I'm a VP, Head of Customer Experience. So I have the privilege to lead a large organization who supports our customer through the policy life cycle from post-issue to claim. Before joining Protective, I spent right under 20 years in the P&C side of the industry, so still learning the life side. Away from work, I enjoy anything my three sons have going on. I'm passionate about youth sports. I enjoy giving back to my community, and most recently became very passionate about financial literacy. So that is going to be my new hobby moving forward, and that's what I wrote my paper about. And so as I went through this experience, I didn't come in with that topic in mind. I really dug into the research to look at, what is it about customer experience? I felt called to research around customer experience and the future of life insurance, and I kept finding a correlation between the life insurance gap and financial literacy, and I just became very, very curious about that. And as I dug deeper, the correlation is just evident, and we've got a lot of opportunity. As I dug deeper, I did focus on the US, but I looked at many other countries, and it looks like it's an opportunity across the globe, and so I'm excited to share more about that with you today.
Yes, my name is Kyung-Hwa Kim. I'm currently working for RGA Korea as a Chief Pricing Actuary. I started my career 24 years ago in MetLife Korea as a pricing actuary, and I moved to a local security company and became a pension actuary. And after that, I wanted to come back to life insurance again, so I joined RGA Korea 13 years ago. So I'm currently looking after 3 departments, pricing and R&D and new initiative. I'm very honored to be here. I think congratulations is in order because, RGA is celebrating 10th anniversary of the Leaders of Tomorrow program. And I think this moment is so special, very meaningful to me. Not just because I was chosen as one of the finalists, but because I have the honor of representing Korea. Did you know that Korea is where this journey first began 10 years ago? And 10 years later, right here in Miami, and representing Korea means a lot to me, and I'm truly honored to be here today. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all had a very good lunch. So my name is Nhật Anh, but you can call me Annie. So I'm from MSIG Asia, the regional office based in Singapore, and our parent company is MS and AD Group in Japan. My role is Enterprise Risk Manager, so our job is to take care of the business units across the Asia-Pacific region to help them in terms of risk and capital management and risk optimization. So it's been, for me, it's been 6 years for me in insurance industry and with MSIG. Previously, my experience was with banking, and then I moved to insurance because I just really like doing risk management and help people to identify and help them manage and optimize their risk. So I'm thinking, where else can I learn better about risk other than insurance, which is the business of risk. So it's been a very truly honor for me to be nominated by my CEO and my manager to the Leaders of Tomorrow program this year. And even a bigger honor for me to be invited to be here today for the Global Insurance Forum. So thank you very much, IIS and the RGA for making this happen for us, and also very glad to be here with the other 2 finalists. And I've been learning a lot throughout the journey, and it means a lot for me personally and professionally. The paper I wrote about is about leadership in emerging markets. So the reason why I chose this topic is because as part of my job for MSIG Asia, we're a regional company based in Singapore, but actually I'm Vietnamese. And I have the opportunity to work with many colleagues and clients in different countries in the region, including many from emerging economies like Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines, or Thailand, Malaysia. So learn a lot from them as well. And I also want to, which is the key inspiration for me to write about emerging markets, because I find those markets, they have a lot of local potentials, but at the same time, they also face many common challenges. So I really want to write on this topic. So it's been an honor and it's really a good experience for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Beth, I'm going to start with you. So your paper was Decreasing the Insurance Gap by Improving Financial Literacy. For starters, I was kind of fascinated that you went to that topic, because it's sort of an enduring thing, is the lack of understanding of our industry. I'm probably not the only person in the room who has, say, been at a social event and asked, what do you do for a living? And it doesn't usually end with 7 people deep trying to hear more and get their picture, much as I might wish it did. So how do you think we can bridge that gap? Like, how do you think sort of getting sort of more initiatives and more financial literacy kind of happening will, it might not make me the most interesting person at the party, I've accepted that, but how will it get more people to understand and engage with our industry?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to understand that the gap exists. It's very difficult, or it was for me, having over 20 years in the insurance industry. Insurance makes sense, right? You don't have to tell me why. And you can make an assumption that everyone is on the same level that you are. Also, you mentioned, right, the topics sometimes aren't the hit at the party. But what was interesting, I dug into LIMRA's annual benchmark study. In that, it suggests that 42% of America has an unmet need from a life insurance perspective. And as I dug deeper, and things just kept popping up around financial literacy, so I spent some time and dug into, well, what does that mean? How do we measure that? I'm sure we've conquered this in the United States and the globe. And I found some strong correlations. And so women are typically less financially literate compared to men. Well, guess what? They also hold less life insurance products. I found information and studies that suggested those with higher financial literacy have more life insurance products owned. And someone that's recently attended some type of financial education is more likely to hold or purchase life insurance. It goes even deeper than that. We've got other demographics such as race. So Black and Hispanic Americans typically have lower financial literacy and also hold less life insurance products. It goes down to age and generation, as well as income and education level. And those just mirrored some of the studies. And so we've got an opportunity to acknowledge that and figure out where we can pour into our communities to make an impact. And that's really where I focused around what is going well today. I looked at a couple different use cases across the globe and started to see opportunities where we can make a difference.
All right, good. And I'm going to jump to you down the end. Sorry, the voice. You talked about the X factor in unlocking insurance growth. And I would say when I started the top of your paper, I had went to the pop music show around the X factor. And I wasn't expecting where you went with it, that it's leadership is the X factor that can help do this. And that can unlock the growth potential in the markets that exist. Can you talk about I find it very interesting, the attributes and that you thought like leaders can bring to bear, because we all have an image of a leader in our mind, but your paper is very interesting.
Thank you. So a bit of background on why I chose to talk about leadership. So as mentioned, I think emerging markets, they have a lot of huge potential, but at the same time, a lot of challenges and difficulties. And it's not just specific to Vietnam as a case study I use in my paper, but I believe that it's shared across many other emerging markets. So I highlight in the paper challenges such as, large protection gap. Why we have such a dynamic demographic, but majority of the population is very vulnerable to Nat Cat. Agricultural insurance, there's not a lot of protection and solutions out there. So why is that the case? Why the protection gap is still very significant for emerging markets? And then why there are so many market players, at the same time there are imprudent market competition. And then we have a young and growing population, but why there are still lack of talent for insurance industry. So there's a lot of different interesting topic and issues to address, and each of them deserve separate analysis and a separate paper. But when I went through my paper and I just keep thinking, okay, what would be the common factor that really crucial and really the ultimate key to address all these issues and unlock the full potential of this market? So I thought to myself, oh, actually, I came to realize that it's really the leadership. And the leadership here I emphasize is from the CEO and the top executive. So of course, I myself is not a top executive level, but I really want to bring in my perspective as a young professionals in the industry, and also coming from Vietnam and working with a lot of different emerging markets. I try to envision a kind of leadership image that can be really inspiring and help to address this growth journey of these developing countries. And in my paper, I do highlight a few leadership qualities that I think very crucial. But here, I really want to emphasize on one keyword. I would emphasize on courage. So courageous leadership, I think, is very important, especially for emerging markets, emerging insurance markets. And because I think courageous leadership will really drive other qualities and competencies. This morning, we talk a lot about innovation. So we really need leaders with courage, so they really can come up with unique, bold visions to address a lot of the, like protection gap or insurance solution that are lacking out there. We need the leadership that can form strategies that are based on technical knowledge and risk management prudence. And especially when the local competition is very fierce, a lot of local companies, they engage in imprudent and even unethical market practice. We need that courageous leadership. We need the courageous leader to maintain integrity, stay away from those imprudence out there, and at the same time also help to balance and navigate a lot of complex stakeholders, conflicts of interest, especially under the strong pressure for growth. And I think more importantly, a courageous leader can really inspire young talent in the industry to follow and be part of the journey to really address all of those problems. So that would be the key summary I would like to share about the paper and the kind of leadership attributes that I find very crucial.
And I think it's fascinating, enlightening that courage is the piece that you kind of went to, and not kind of the courage to be bold,
Yes.
to pursue a vision, but equally the courage to resist the pressures around the short-term goals, because a lot of the markets, a lot of pressure to grow and grow quickly, and that can have consequences, put it as simple as that. Kyung-Hwa, in your case, the silver solutions beyond product development, so innovating insurance for South Korea's senior market. Certainly, I was aware of how successful insurance is in South Korea. Like the market penetration there is very, very high. And there has been a lot of innovation over the years with product to kind of create this. But I found it enlightening to hear them but say, well, that's good, but. And your paper, that's really good, but. Which was that as the incredibly rapid aging of Korean society, I had not appreciated, I knew it was aging, but I had not appreciated how fast it has already aged and how quickly it continues to do so. So with that backdrop, can you sort of share what you think are some of the approaches that, first, can you sort of share what challenges that is creating for the insurance carriers?
Korea insurance market is very unique in so many ways. So before answering your question, I'm gonna give some background information about Korea and the Korean insurance market. When it comes to aging population, Korea is number one. in terms of aging speed. And there are two main reasons why Korea is aging faster than any other country in the world. The first one is a longer life expectancy. And Korea has a very generous national health insurance system. And many Koreans, they can easily access to the hospital and medical service without worrying too much about medical costs. And on top of that, we have a medical checkup almost every year. By the Korean law, the company have to provide free medical checkups to their employees. And thanks to well-established healthcare system and the widespread medical checkups, life expectancy has dramatically improved over the last decades. And another one is the country's birth rate. Korea's birth rate is the lowest in the world, and the country drops every year. So when you have a chance to visit Korea, you might be surprised to see more, dog strollers than baby strollers. And because of these two factors combined, the age population is much faster in Korea, is unparalleled. And it causes a lot of social issues and put a lot of pressure and stress to Korean society. And since 2010, Korean insurance market has become very saturated. And the new business growth has been stagnant and slowed down. To navigate these challenges, Korean insurers have developed various senior products like simplified issue dementia product, LTC, medical, and CI product. Initially, these the senior products were very, very successful. And the early sales were very impressive, much higher than expectation. However, as time goes by, the competition becomes more intense, right? So as a result, many companies have become more aggressive and focused on the aggressive product features and the pricing. And the market becomes very, overly competitive right now. And that's why the lifespan of a new product is getting shorter and shorter, and the margin of company is getting thinner and thinner. That is the current market situation here in Korea. Now, let me answer your question. Yeah, already I mentioned two challenges, right? The market competition and the saturation, right? On top of that, there are two key critical challenges: pricing and underwriting. Many Korean insurance products are long-term guarantee up to full of life. However, there are not many data for pricing for very old ages. And the Korean rate-making regulation is not flexible and is very strict. And there is no room for judgment. So because of these two, insufficient data for old ages and inflexible regulation, it's very difficult for Korean insurers to develop long-term senior products. And then let me cover the other, underwriting challenges. As you know, senior disease like dementia is highly complex with so many causes and types. So it makes it very difficult for traditional underwriting to fully capture each complexity. Because of that limitation, our company restrict issue ages or coverage, leaving many seniors who need the coverage the most without protection. Unfortunately, that was the case for my father-in-law because he was declined dementia insurance 6 years ago, simply because of his age.
Good luck with solving those problems. Annie, you, as I linked your paper around, go back to this leadership concept, you gave an example like of how in certain markets there are sort of huge amounts of lapses, like sort of 70% lapses within a year of some products, sort of caused by the pressures of the market and that. But as you're kind of locking that together, how do you think your X factor can help solve that problem or can help improve the market?
So for the benefits of the audience who haven't read the paper, so in my paper, I do mention one example of a very high cancellation rate. Like some life insurance company can record a 70% lapse rate the next year. So what would be the reason for that? So, okay, imagine you go to the bank and then you try to open a saving account. And then without your knowledge, the bancassurance agent actually use your account to enroll you into a life insurance policy, either without your knowledge or give you very limited information about what you are enrolling or what you are purchasing. Or if you go to a bank and apply for a loan, for example, but then the bank staff will pressure you to buy an insurance policy as a condition for your loans to be approved. So these are some examples of the unethical sales tactics that the bancassurance agents in the market was using to pressure and to boost the sales of the insurance products. And I do believe that actually this can be very common for many markets and especially emerging markets out there because they have so much pressure. They place so much pressure on growing, sales volume and market share. So in order to address that, what would I think can be the solution? There are many strategies out there, but I really want to go back to the topic on leadership. So if I were to propose, I guess maybe we can look back to our internal business model and then rethink about the three elements that I want to highlight here. For example, we have our people, our product, and our process. So the three-letter P's. So for the people, right, if we continue to rely on bancassurance, for example, then how can we make sure we strengthen our licensing and our assessment of these insurance agent, and especially how we can adequate them with sufficient knowledge and ethical standards so they can serve our customer. But in the long term, maybe it's really time for us to rethink our distribution model on how to reduce the reliance on those traditional bancassurance and move over to, let's say, more innovative solution like digital platform. So a case in Vietnam where we have a population of very high digital penetration. So how can we leverage that advantage and rethink our distribution models and rely less on bancassurance, which is the traditional channel more prone to fraud and unethical practice. So this would be the solution for people factor. In terms of product, so I think it's very common that an average consumer find insurance product, especially life insurance product, very complex. So as an insurance provider, how can we simplify our product or support the understanding of our customer, make it more transparent and more easily to understand what you are purchasing, the terms and wordings, your costs and benefits of an insurance policy. And then finally, in terms of the process, how can we strengthen our supervision and monitoring the performance of our third party? If we have to rely on third party to distribute our product, how can we establish a long-term retention focus in metrics and incentives versus the short-term sales volume focus? And all these strategies, again, would bring back to the leadership because leaders here really need to be the key element of promoting ethical risk culture, promoting the prudent market practice, really have the courage to say no. I don't want to engage in unethical or wrongful conducts just for the sake of growing too fast. I really want to prioritize the customer value, really want to prioritize being the people who provide the protection for those who needs the protection. So that would be what I think based on my perspective in writing the paper.
Yes, there's real parallels in what Annie is sort of sharing around, like when you hear about our customers having products they didn't know they bought, didn't know what they bought, why they bought them. And you sort of flagged even the other side of that same problem, which is if you have no idea, you don't even understand the need, how do you know you're even supposed to buy the product? But you were thinking about that knowledge gap. Actually, there's a whole bunch of insurance gaps, and there's the knowledge gap. What sort of solutions do you think are out there? Like where do you think we need to start?
In my paper, I referenced 5 different opportunities of where I would recommend that we start. I'll dig deeper in just a few of them, and maybe some that hit home to me personally. The first one would just be around educating our youth. There's over 30 million high school and college students today in America. And so where we can mandate financial literacy courses, I think, are critical, and it can't be a check-the-box approach. We really need to ensure we've got the right education and training of those delivering the actual education, very similar to what Annie had mentioned too, around how we're training that distribution model. So my husband and I are both in insurance, and I took a minute to ask my kids. I've got a 20-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 12-year-old, and I thought, well, products of two people in insurance, surely they're not going to come up on this list short. They had gone through financial literacy in high school, and I was quickly humbled. They knew very little about insurance, whether what we had as a family, and what they might need as they enter that early adulthood. And so while my family was very proud of this development opportunity, I would have to tell you my two oldest sons are really regretting it because they are currently in financial literacy classes now at college. And so what's interesting, I found out neither of their colleges required it. It was very hard to actually find a financial literacy course at the college, but some of the questions they're asking me now, it's clear to me that that is a ripe age to ensure that we're introducing that. One of the things I love about Protective Life Insurance is how involved they are with the community. Most recently, I volunteered with Protective Life. We joined Junior Achievement, and I had the privilege of teaching financial literacy to a group of second graders. And so, the curriculum matters. You can't go into a second grade classroom and talk about life insurance, right? You're building that acumen about money and how that flows to a community, getting them eager to learn. And then I would say the second part that I think is critical is, we can't just start with kids. They're going to go home, and their parents need to be educated as well. We've got over 135 million Americans in the workforce. And so our companies and corporations have a responsibility to provide financial literacy and education to our workforce. Many of you are probably going through your benefits enrollment now, right? And how can we introduce incentives or gamification or something of that nature that people take advantage of the financial opportunities that are afforded to them? I was humbled again. I was speaking with a relative of mine about their insurance. I realized I was not having these conversations at the dinner table. Our Thanksgiving and Christmas meal is going to look a lot different this year. But as I got into some of those, I have a relative that surely they're insured. They live a pretty large lifestyle, have the means to do so. And as we got deeper in that conversation, they're part of that 42% that is represented there, and I was just astounded. They weren't taking their benefits, their group life benefits at their work, and trying to dig in deeper to that. There's just a barrage of opportunities that we have available to us, and my charge to this group was, don't make that assumption, right? We collectively, as an industry, need to be able to have some of those conversations. I reflected internally. There wasn't often times that I was going out and communicating what I do, why it's important, why my company's important. And I've made a personal vow to do that, and I would love to have each of you along the way join me on that journey, because it's a real opportunity.
I think I was amazed. Oh, sorry, Annie.
Yeah, I just want to add on what Beth is sharing. So before I read Beth's paper, I thought the financial literacy or lack of insurance awareness is just something very for more developing countries, and the US should be very developed. But I really amazed to learn that it's still the problem in developed market like the US. And when I was doing research on my paper, I do post a kind of survey on Reddit, and I asked to young people out there, what is your impression or your opinion on working in insurance industry? And then the most voted comment was who are we scamming? So there's still a lot of misperception about insurance and insurance out there, which also maybe that's why people are a bit hesitant or not very open to the idea of buying insurance or being part of the protection journey. So that's why I think it's still come back to our role as an industry, as insurance company, to really do the right thing and really focus on the customer protection to slowly restore the public trust, and hopefully it can also help to address the financial literacy in the long term.
Absolutely. Some of the information I found is just one of the hesitancies or cultural barriers of the willingness to talk about death, right? It is one of the things we have in common, right? We're going to go through that or be impacted by that. And so digging deep into why we have those conversations, it's just interesting there's a lot of assumptions, right? And looking at the various countries of who's done that better, where governments have certain incentives, whether it's for corporations or individuals from a tax perspective, there's a lot of ideas.
I have two younger children I was sharing earlier, and it's amazing watching the two of them. Like, one of them is certainly well able to spend money, and it's amazing how he would think about the future. It just sort of shows how malleable and accessible they are to get the right knowledge into their brains. Like, you don't need the new Fortnite skin or money for that game. But think about, what does forward planning mean to you? Albeit he's 11, so we have time, but it kind of remind you how quickly people can find money for some things, and yet we don't understand why they need it for something else. And it's an education thing, not a frivolous, feckless thing. It's an education thing.
And most people think life insurance is more expensive than it is, right? So you're, able to buy a term policy for probably what you're spending on Starbucks. Right.
I remember a number of years ago running a program that said, for the price of a coffee in Starbucks, you could have bought life insurance. And then the post sort of advertising program study came out and it said that the real reaction people thought was, oh, look at that. They're right, I do feel like a cup of coffee. But the disconnection and the idea that I can solve my insurance problem tomorrow won't go away because I want my coffee today. Kyung-Hwa, I'm going to go to you. There was a phrase came up a couple of times this morning, and it made me think about your paper. The phrase about the democratizing of data, and the idea that data can be made available for everybody to use, and then everybody can benefit. Mm-hmm. And that in Korea you have the Insurance Credit Information Service. Mm-hmm. Can you give us some more background of what that is and how it works and how it helps?
Yeah, sure. When you think of Korea, what comes to your mind first?
For Korea, wow, maybe,
yeah, in the past, North Korea or Kim Jong-un, right? But nowadays, K-pop and K-dramas are really popular, BTS. Right? Yeah, BTS, right? Blackpink, right? But did you know that Korea is also very strong in IT and technology? And the IIS database is a great example of how IT can be used smartly and effectively for insurance data sharing. And this industry-wide centralized database system makes Korea insurance market very unique because Korea is the only country in the world has such a database system. And as far as I know, no other country has anything like that. So whenever I mention IIS database to my foreign colleagues, many of them, they're very envious for Korea having such a, the unique and powerful database system. And the IIS database system is very special, very unique, and because it serves not only risk management tool, also it's a platform creating business model. Yesterday, there was a presentation for Global Innovation Award, and RGA Korea was one of the finalists. And Microsoft presented yesterday, and they will be results a couple of hours later today. Hopefully, RGA Korea will win the fingers crossed, right? And actually, they developed underwriting solution leveraging IIS database. So it's a good example where IIS can be used to create business model. And let me explain how IIS works in Korea. Through IIS database system, the entire insurance industry share their policyholders' information, including past claim history and the credit information and the existing policy information. So at that time of underwriting, companies can access the database. They can check and verify applicant disclosure based on the data stored in the IIS. That's why simplified issue products in Korea were very successful. Because simplified underwriting products ask only 3 questions. However, underwriting still remain effective because IIS enable companies to detect false disclosure using this IIS system. Yes.
Definitely very, very interesting. And it is that aspect we heard earlier about how your differentiation might, sometimes it's your data, but more often it's the questions you're asking of the data. That's how you approach that, as we heard this morning. I was want to sort of say that one thing that as I went through the papers that linked them that I thought was kind of fascinating, because we hear about the insurance gap, whatever, as I kind of go down, I think that sort of Beth, you demonstrated like there's a knowledge gap sort of in the market, and Kyunghwa, you sort of showed there's a product gap, or is there a product in its broad sense, whatever. And then Annie, you're going to demonstrate that maybe there's a leadership gap in how we're approaching the industry. So I think it was sort of three very interesting ways that the program surfaced the things that are either holding us back or could help us leap forward. So just as I sort of check the time just and wrap up, I'll work my way back. As well as sort of you writing the papers, you experienced the program. I would love sort of from each of you to kind of hear your thoughts on being a mentee. How you would hopefully recommend it to others, or become a mentor in the future as you head on and follow Tony Cheng and head of CEO of the organization. So, Andy, what did you learn from the experience?
I think when my manager, so my manager is actually is Felicia so she was actually the winner of last year. So she suggested me to participate in this year's program, and at first I was very stressed because I feel like I'm still relatively young and still building my career and experience in the industry, so I don't know how much I can write about it or how much I know to write and to share to other people. But then I find that to me, now looking back, it's really a meaningful journey because it's really given me the opportunity to get out of my comfort zone, like my daily work, and really dedicate my time to do a lot of research, readings, and write about a topic that personally very close to my heart, which is about emerging markets. And and especially it gets me the chance to work with my mentor. My mentor is James Vicker from Gallagher. So he's really provide me a lot of guidance and support. He has a lot of experience, decades of experience in the insurance industry. He has so many stories to tell and to share. And when I was struggling to narrow down my focus because my topic is very broad, he really he encouraged me to looking back at my personal journey and my experience to write from my own perspective, and encouraged me to share my perspective in the paper. So it really helped me to gain much more clarity, and I'm really thankful for James for that. And in addition, I also, other than the official mentors I was assigned, I also have a lot of support from my mentors from MSIG Asia as well. So Clemens, our CEO, also previously participated in the Leaders of Tomorrow program many years ago. And then my managers and my peers, so many of them gave me a lot of support and guidance. So now looking back, I feel it's a very meaningful and incredible journey for me.
Yes. You already mentioned, our global CEO, Tony Cheng, participated in this program as mentee 9 years ago. And I'm very honored to be part of this honorable mentor-mentee program. And I learned a lot through the journey as well. And the writing paper was a little bit stressful, to be honest with you, because I found a little bit overwhelmed, right? Because there's too much work to done. However, I found that it's worth it because I learned a lot through the writing the paper. And I was really struggling with the new ideas for senior. That's why I chose this topic for my paper. And the writing paper helped me a lot to organize my thoughts and find the clear direction. So now I'm working on new idea for senior, and actually I incorporate some ideas from my paper into our product development. And lastly, I'd like to share my experience with my mentor, Keum-Ju Ho. And meeting her has been a truly positive experience for me because she's not an actuary and her background is marketing and strategy and business. Because her experience is very different from mine, there are more to learn from her. For example, she has extensive experience in presenting at the various international events like this. And I kind of, lack kind of presentation skill because my career purely spent on actuarial technical roles, right? So that's why my presentation skills were kind of lacking. So when I was preparing for 5-minute speech, she kind of, pushed me a lot, put a lot of pressure. Actually, she called me almost every day, checking on my progress. But thanks to her, now I'm able to be here in front of you. So I really appreciate her mentoring.
Beth, final word to
Yeah,
you.
I'll echo a couple things that said. One, it made me very uncomfortable. I prefer a math test over writing a paper, right? So that took me back. But some of our best growth comes from when we're uncomfortable. So I'm very appreciative of that. Just a ton of opportunity from the mentoring relationship. I remember when Gary reached out. When I first got that email, I was like, oh, my mentor is going to be someone named Gary Comerford. And I looked him up, and then I realized he was actually getting to know me, so he could adequately and properly match me with an impactful mentor. And he did a phenomenal job. And so my mentor really challenged my thinking. It was easy to see how siloed I was in my day-to-day role, maybe within my company, and exposed me to many issues on a global scale, which I'm extremely thankful for. And then one of the biggest learnings I had was unexpected. It really was learning from the fellow mentees and the passion that everyone brought to their paper. I was able to find uniqueness of certain things we go through, but also learn so much from each of them. And so I can't wait to pay that forward in whatever way that looks like in the future.
My thanks to the three of you. I've enjoyed getting to know you, both the knowledge you provided me through your papers, but also just as we prepared for this and chatting and learning about you. The excellence of your work this is why you are picked and future leaders of tomorrow. I would like to also thank the mentors who are behind this. There was 10 mentors. I said some of them are in the room here, and there were another 7 mentees as well. So the whole program comes together. So my thanks to them. But then also, as I said earlier, thanks to the IIS for their support, because it is a joint effort. So it has been tremendous. So if we can just give some appreciation for our panelists here. Thank you.